Hello, and welcome back to my sewing room. Today we're moving on to the second part of my spring jacket project, where we'll be making the pattern and the mock-up. So from the drafting process we did last time by draping the mannequin, we're going to create our paper pattern from those draped pieces, clean up our lines, and then use that to cut out our mock-up that we can then fit to make sure that our pattern is correct for our body. Let's get started, shall we? Starting out, I have a roll of pattern paper with a 1-inch grid line that I like to use. Remember, don't use your fabric shears on paper, only use scissors specifically meant for paper. Before we get to tracing out our draped pattern, we want to press our pieces nice and flat, getting out any wrinkles from the fabric. Remember to label each piece so we don't get them mixed up. Moving on, we are going to prep our pre-washed mock-up material by ironing it. I prefer to use a spray bottle to dampen the fabric as my iron leaks when I use the steam function. She is an old lady, you know. To transfer the draped pieces to paper, I like to use a heat erasable pen so that any mistakes can easily be undone. I like to make points along the edge of the pattern, especially in the curved areas such as the arm's eye, before connecting the lines. Since I want a bit of volume to the skirt of the jacket, we are going to mark the angle of flare. Here I have a diagram showing 15 degrees, 30 degrees, and 45 degrees. For the jacket, I think I'll do a 30-degree flare. Using a protractor, you can correctly mark your lines for the angle. You can use your ruler to make sure that your lines are nice and straight, and also to complete any pattern lines that have not been finished. I am also using a French curve to assist in making a smooth flow to the lines of the pattern. Your French curve is an extremely useful tool for drawing out the arm's eye, shoulders, and neckline of your patterns. Go ahead and clean up any lines that you are unhappy with. Don't forget to mark the grain line on your paper, along with any other important pattern markings needed. Make sure to label each pattern piece when done. When ready, cut out the pattern using your paper scissors. Snip, snip, snip. Don't cut off the tip. Don't forget to recycle your paper scraps. The landfills are too full already. Now taking our prepared muslin, we are going to make our mock-up. Lay out your paper pattern over the fabric, making sure you are lining up correctly with the grain line of the muslin. Using your heat erasable pen, start tracing out the lines of your pattern.
So I just realized I traced my pattern onto the fabric the wrong way.
Upon readjusting my fabric to the proper direction, once again, I lay out my pattern, making sure everything is nice and smooth. Now to trace out my pattern once more. I have my muslin fabric doubled over so that I only have to trace each pattern piece once. To keep my pattern from shifting during this process, I am using pattern weights that are different crystals and stones that I have collected. Once traced out, remove your pattern piece and double check that you have all your markings transferred. Don't forget to label each piece as you go. Since my fabric is doubled over, I will now pin inside my pattern lines to ensure that the pieces do not shift when they get cut out. Now it's time to cut out your fabric pieces using your fabric shears. I personally like to save all my fabric scraps to use in later projects, garment mending, or to donate to a fabric exchange. Having as little fabric waste as possible is something very important to me, as I do a lot of sewing and alterations for customers. You will be repeating this process for every piece of your mock-up. Let's speed things up a bit. Okay, so far now we have the front, one sleeve, 3/4 length, the hood, and the pockets for the mock-up cut. Just got to get some more fabric out and then we can continue on. Here I am measuring out more cotton muslin from my fabric bolt to use for the mock-up. 2 more yards should do it. Into the wash. Let's get to ironing. Now that we have more material prepped, let's continue transferring our pattern to our fabric. While marking the back pattern piece on my muslin, I decided to narrow the flare down from 30 degrees to 15 degrees to save on fabric. Let's go get some coffee. Coffee has been procured. Let's get back to work. Finally, it's time to sew all the pieces of our mock-up together. I started with the center back seam and then attach the front panels to the back at the shoulders. Unfortunately, my camera missed this part of the process. Before attaching the sleeves, I am sewing 2 rows of gathering stitches into the tops of the sleeve heads. You do this on your machine using the longest stitch possible with 0 tension. Next, gather the sleeve heads and pin into your arm's eye, lining up your pattern guide marks. Make sure to sew very carefully on your machine, as leaving the pins in helps to keep your gathers from shifting. I then stitched a simple folded cuff before closing the sleeves and sides of the jacket. Well, one side. Y'all, mistakes were made. I sewed the front half on backwards. Completely messed up, because that's the sleeve side. So now, before I got too far, I have to undo all this. Let's get this seam ripped into hyperdrive. Attaching the front panel back on the correct way, we then reattach the sleeve head and close up the side of the jacket. Lastly, we then sew and attach the hood. For the mock-up, I did some small pleats in the back of the hood, but I plan to gather it for the final jacket, so that all the pieces line up correctly. Here we have our mock-up finished. So the first thing I notice, the shoulders are completely off. With how this is sitting, I need to bring the shoulder up here and bring it more into the front. It is too tight in the front, makes it hard to move my arms forward, so I'm going to have to mark that. Also, I've noticed here in the top of the chest, it's too loose, but overall, the fit and flare, I like the length that it turned out to be, and I did end up going with a, oh, there's a thread there. I went with a 15-degree flare instead of a 30 because when I was cutting it originally, the front, the 30 was way too wide, and when I did the back, I could not even get 2 cuts on the fabric properly with how wide it would have been. The length, it's just above the knees, exactly where I wanted it. Overall, in the back, I think once I have the shoulders adjusted up, back should be fine. Enough room there to move my arms forward. So I've got about 2 inches I need to take in, and then the sleeves are just too voluminous at the top, so I need to cut that down. And frankly, with the shoulders sitting as low, they're entirely too long. So, okay, so here's what we're going to do. These shoulders need to be moved up. So, pin myself here. So pinching in here, you can feel that it can come in another inch or so to kind of bring in the chest a little bit better. And on the shoulders, you want the top of the shoulder sitting there, bringing it around and down. I do like that it's sitting a little higher in my armpit, which means I have more range of motion, but it also means that I can't reach up as high. So we're going to want to open up the arm's eye here. So starting here, we're going to mark the top of our shoulder and bring it down a little more into the arm's eye to open up the front. Because if everything was sitting a little higher and forward here, I'd have much better range of motion. So to mark that and kind of the arm's eye there. Kind of do that on the other side too. Bring that in and up and in. That should also help with the sleeve volume issue by moving that up and in. And then we also wanted to mark out that we're going to taper that a bit more to give us a more taut chest. So we want to bring up the sleeves, bring in the chest. Overall, the length is good. Back, I feel like, yeah, I do have plenty of room there. So that'll move that. There, we'll adjust up. Up here. And for the sleeve, we're going to just have to pinch out a lot of the volume here, and I think we're also going to narrow it here so it's a little tighter. I wanted to give plenty of room so that we had, you know, enough of a sleeve to be able to wear like a sweatshirt under this, but I'm sorry, but I am swimming in this sleeve. It is like massively huge. So it's not too tight around my chest, so it should leave plenty of space. You can see here where drew the pattern wrong, on the wrong direction, so. All right, I think what we'll do is we'll cut off this video here. I'm gonna make these adjustments and then do another mock-up at the beginning of the next video. So, see you guys then. Bye.